Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I like to discuss how Sainsbury's, one of our main supermarkets and one that's very closely linked with the Conservatives, is facing the potential for some real shortages as their drivers vote by a large margin to state that they are prepared to go on strike over poor pay. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So there are two things going on here with Sainsbury's: Brexit denial and a failure to understand how this pointless Tory policy has shifted the balance of power towards some workers. I was reading somewhere, and unfortunately I cannot for the life of me remember where. I usually note these things down and I didn't. But there's a report somewhere that staff in Sainsbury's are required to blame shortages on the pandemic. If they are asked if the shortages are due to Brexit, or they're just asked an open-ended question on them, they are to say that it is down to the pandemic, not leaving the EU. No. Now, I could sort of go along with supermarkets downplaying shortages a few months ago, in order to avoid panic buying, which doesn't do anyone any good. Something I've yet to see. That has surprised me a little now that it's a bit more obvious. But when the shortages are in fact here and undeniable, what benefit is there in pretending that it's to do with something else? What benefit isn't there in pretending that Brexit's got nothing to do with it? I mean, surely it causes more panic to blame the shortages on the pandemic than Brexit. See, the pandemic is going to be with us for some time to come. We can hope that we manage it better over the next year than we have the previous year and a half, but it's still here and writ large on our lives. Brexit, on the other hand, is a government policy. It's politics. It's not a force of nature. As such, it can be dealt with. You could actually change it quite quickly. But no, we mustn't mention Brexit, because apparently the problem will just go away as if by magic if we stop banging on about it. But it is not at all obvious to me how a business considers it in their interest to help perpetuate a problem, because, by the way, if you don't tackle the Brexit dimension to this, you don't tackle the problem. So how is it in their interest to perpetuate the problem that is costing it money? Because Brexit is costing it in two ways. One, if it can't hold as much stock, it can't sell as much stock. Therefore, it doesn't make as much money. But secondly, outgoings also increase. Staff shortages throughout the supply chain mean higher costs, either directly in the form of higher wages and retention bonuses, all the rest of it, or indirectly in higher supply costs as a result of other companies further down the chain having to shell out more for their staff. Surely the next supermarket wars are going to be won by those who get the most staff and have the fullest shelves. Tesco and Aldi seem to be taking this the most seriously, as far as I can tell. But Sainsbury's seems to have a different idea. Someone tweeted me a clip from a newspaper with the story of potential strike action from drivers who supply Sainsbury's. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of key workers, absolutely vital to both our economy and our society, who have been getting a raw deal for an awful long time. But we need them. And now there's not enough of them. There's far too few to be cavalier about paying them properly. But HGV drivers are in an extremely strong position right now. It's the trifactor, really, isn't it? One, there is a critical shortage of them. That means that those whom we do have some serious choice about who they work for. It's really that simple. In a shortage industry, I'll go and work for whoever I want to work for. You don't have to just take what you can get. Secondly, they are highly skilled. So let's say a sudden influx of people losing their jobs as the furlough scheme ends at the end of this month. They're not going to be filling up those driving vacancies. Our shortage of drivers is actually not something that's going to be dealt with anytime soon. The existing drivers are going to be working in a shortage industry for the foreseeable future. And third, they're absolutely crucial. See, with some workers, we could just shrink the sector. For example, a shortage of restaurant staff just means you can't have as many restaurants running. Not great for the economy, pretty good for those who can remain open, like with anything else. But our society won't fall apart because we can't get someone else to cook our dinner for us. Even the shortages in food production, which is more serious, it means we can't produce as much food. So we prioritise the food that's more important. And we're already reliant on large quantities of imported food anyway. We increase that reliance. That's not good, but we just import more. Might be tricky when checks on EU imports start ramping up next month, but the government will just have to deal with that. Again, that's politics. They could deal with that if they wanted to. But without drivers to shuttle all these things around, the whole supply chain comes crashing down. You can't just shrink haulage, otherwise you don't get what you want. You don't get your stuff. If Sainsbury's can't get drivers to deliver their products from distribution centres to stores, what happens? You've got nothing to sell. Congratulations, you're out of business. And at a time when some lorry drivers are getting huge pay increases, I can imagine that the crew at this Dartford distribution centre, which is somewhere down south, I don't know, run by DHL for Sainsbury's, according to the report, will have fancied making some decent money at last. Hard, thankless, gruelling, skilled work, and the pay has not been reflecting this. We seem to be in short supply. We'd quite like paying properly now, they said. The cheek of it, the executives must have explained. Give them 1% and tell them to go away. Can you imagine? We have seen companies losing drivers hand over fist as the too few to manage have moved to where the wages have been improving. We've seen stories of small operators losing their drivers, can't get more drivers. We've seen stories of councils having to cut back on refuse collections because their drivers have gone off to work for Tesco's or something, or paying them more money now. Drivers are absolutely crucial to your business model. You've seen competitors offering much improved pay for their drivers, and you think it's a good idea to offer a way below inflation pay increase? I mean, below inflation, you know what that means? That means a pay cut in real terms. How does that conversation go? We'd like a pay rise, please. We're a highly skilled workforce that you can't do without, and it looks like you're struggling to recruit. So, tell you what, how about you pay us some more money? I have a counter offer. What if we give you a real terms pay cut? No. So Unite, which is the union which I'm guessing represents a good chunk of these drivers, apparently there's about 200 of them, consulted members who voted by 98% in favour of industrial action if the pay offer isn't made a bit more respectable. This happened just over a week ago, I only just found out about it. Bottom line is that with such overwhelming support for potentially strike action, if DHL and Sainsbury's don't start to pay attention to those free market forces they like so much, they're going to be looking at some really empty shelves around London and the southeast of England. That's basically where most of the population of the UK live. And that's not going to do their balance sheet any good, is it? And also, if that happens, that'll be national news. That'll persuade a load of other people. Oh, look. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, we'll start demanding loads more money as well. Now, personally, I can't really see it coming to that. This is not a dispute that Sainsbury's can possibly afford to get involved in. Food prices are going up across the sector. Supermarkets are going to have to compete based on being able to fulfil shopping lists. The competition isn't over prices right now, it's over staff. It's not who can boast the lowest prices, but who can boast the lowest number of staff vacancies. At the end of the day, the pitch needs to be, come here, whatever's on your shopping list, you'll go away with. To that end, the businesses that value their workers the most will get the best rewards, surely. Frankly, I can't even work out why they even allowed this union vote to go ahead. Should have been sorted out amicably with a mutually agreeable offer immediately that takes account of the reality of the labour market right now. A labour market that has shifted because of the Brexit that their precious Tories brought them. Because when you take on workers in a strong position, which I'll grant you doesn't happen very often these days, you can easily end up having to pay even more than you would have been the case if it had been dealt with properly from the start. Finally, I will say I did have to laugh. There was one little phrase in there that made me laugh. I saw a quote from the union representative in the article. It went, coming up with an offer that reflects the hard work and dedication shown by these drivers. And I thought, this is why I'd be no good in public relations. I can't use phrases like that. What a load of crap. Come up with an offer that reflects the highly skilled nature of your workforce who could easily find better paid work elsewhere the next day if you don't start paying them a lot more, is how I would phrase it. You get nothing for hard work or dedication. They're both important to increase your chances in life, of course. They're both virtues. It really doesn't matter what sort of economic model you operate. You can operate a socialist model and a capitalist model. It makes no difference. Hard work gets you sod all in itself. What are you worth, and are you prepared to walk away from an offer that is less than your worth? That's how these things work. Right now, it's very easy for drivers to walk away from less than their worth. And Sainsbury's would probably do well to remember that. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.